stacked against you, play a different game. It took me 30 years to find the right game for myself. As I write in the book, actually, all my life I've done so many things for the wrong reasons. In college, I started off majoring in applied math because I thought it would make my parents happy, and I practically failed out. And I remember it was actually my dad who saved me. I was over Christmas break as a freshman doing a problem set, struggling. And he came over and he said, "Oh my God, you're really not good at this." To do something else. So I was like, "Thank you, Dad." But then I switched to economics. Why? I don't know, because it seemed kind of science-like. Wrong choice. I was so bored by it that I couldn't even remember what my own senior thesis was about. I went to law school because I didn't want to go to medical school. And I was not an impressive law student. I look around, and this is a new generation, and I think these remarks may not relate to a lot of you, and thank goodness, but for me, law school, for whatever reasons, was not really a good fit. There's a lot you can do through hard work, but I felt like it was not my strength. I felt like hated being cold called. My mind froze at that moment. I couldn't think at all. And everybody else all around me seemed to have so many passionate views and ideas. And I felt like I had no opinion on anything. I didn't care. It would be a case that people would be debating, and I would say, well, I think the majority and the dissent both sound awesome. And I had been a great college and high school student, but law school tore down my confidence. I came out of that thinking, I'm not really so smart. But I worked hard, I clerked, I went to Cleary Gottlieb, loved that firm, great firm. But even there, again, unlike many of you, I was not a natural at it. As soon as I got there, I was filling out grad school applications. I tried to write a novel, that failed. But then two things happened. First, I discovered that I was actually good at some stuff that was relevant. And what happened was that some of the old skills that I had taken me so far before I went to law school, which didn't seem valued at law school, actually kicked back in. And it turns out that the clients liked me. And in particular, I was working, we represented the Mexican government. We were doing the privatization of Mexico's telephone company. And somehow I was kind of dealing with Mexico's Minister of Finance and all these other ministers. And I was just good at talking to them. And they liked me and they would ask for me. So the partners were thrilled because suddenly I was valuable. And I always felt like a fraud because I was like I was suddenly doing well, but it didn't involve anything to do with the law. The minister was like 80, maybe not so sharp. And when I was asked to, explain 10b-5, 10b-6 to him, I'd say, so just try not to be corrupt, okay? But anyway, a second thing happened, even more lucky. Privatization, the deal interested me, and while I was spending so much time in Mexico, I sort of noticed, this is the kind of stuff that I find interesting. Oh, isn't it interesting that all of the people I'm dealing with and all the wealthy elites are all white? They look, Spanish, they look white, they have blonde hair. Well, all the people doing the Xeroxing all around are much more clearly 2 feet shorter and much more Indian-blooded. Even though everybody says we're all mestizos, there's clearly. And I thought to myself, it's funny, the same dynamic as in Southeast Asia, where my family's from, where you have a small, ethnically definable minority that's very rich and a much larger majority. So I ended up, that experience led to my first article, The Privatization Nationalization Cycle, the link between markets and ethnicity in developing countries. That got me a teaching job. I later built on that by adding democracy. So I wrote an article called Markets, Democracy, and Ethnicity Towards a New Paradigm for Law and Development. And that led to my first book, World on Fire, where I coined the term market-dominant minorities about these rich, wealthy minorities like the Chinese in Indonesia or the Philippines. And Tom Friedman and Neil Ferguson and Fareed Zakaria have all picked up that term, and the book did very well. But it's funny because when my mom finally read World on Fire, she called me. She's like, "This is what you're writing about? Everyone knows this." but she was wrong. Not everyone knew it. I had the write about exactly